All right, Johnny B, UpsideDownDrafting.com. What do we have here today? A 32-team fantasy football Empire League. What the heck am I talking about? I'm looking for a big boy league out there, and I'm thinking about starting this. Well, if you're going to do 32 teams in fantasy football, a lot of people have dreamed this up, but no one really has the knowledge or maybe the know-how to even start something like this. And you got to make it fair, you got to make it legit, and you got to make it work, right? So with a big boy league setting, you're going to have to find those solid owners out there. Stay tuned. I got another idea out there I'm working on. I'm trying to find a way where I can advertise guys like you that listen to these channels out there, put some metrics together for other commissions out there. It would have kind of your trade name, your Leatherheads, your, whatever your team name out there in fantasy football. Big ass TDs I see, or something like silly like that. It would have who you follow in the NFL. Here's the Vikings, hometown Minnesota. I can't do your real picture because of all this Facebook stuff, but what I could do is I could put your Twitter handle out here. I could tell guys, hey, here's a guy interested in about $100 threshold league. He wants to play Dynasty. He's got 4 years. Now, how would I get all these metrics? MFL is a public domain. You can look up any public league and you can find these metrics. I can tell a guy's record last year. I can see how many points he was in, how many years experience, how many trades he made. We could figure out what kind of owner are you. Are you a hyperactive type of guy, or are you a guy that just sits back and does nothing? Does your league even have any notions of trading? How many championships you've won? I think you could put some merit on that. Anyways, I'm working on this idea. I'll show you this as I launch it later. But back to the lecture at hand, right? Here we go. Big boy league. I'd be looking for guys like this if I'm going to start a 32-team league, especially Empire. Well, what the hell does Empire mean? I'll get to that in a minute. But what I would probably do is I'd correlate 4 divisions, okay? 32 owners, that means I would pair up 8 owners. 8 times 4 is 32. And how would I pair them up to be fair? I do every other draft pick, and I'll get to that in a minute. So that essentially, owner A would be pick 1, okay? Owner B, pick 2. Those would be in 2 separate divisions. So the very first pick of the draft would never be in the same division as the second overall pick, if that makes sense. There'd be 15 starters in your lineup in this league that I'm conjuring up. So QB, running backs with a flex. You got your wide receivers and a flex, a tight end, a kicker, a punter, an O-line, and some defensive IDP positions. We'll leave those simply at 3 for now. You say, well, it's 32 owners. What are you trying to do? Well, we try to mimic the NFL here. So that's why I want punters. I want an offensive line. Well, what the heck does that mean? Well, in this scenario, what I'd mean by an offensive line would be the LA Rams. You get their negative fantasy points if they do a hold. You get their positive fantasy points if they move the football down the field. There's all kinds of metrics you can do. So your offensive line on the fantasy realm is going to go up or down. And it'll be kind of like in your world, if you're watching and you're a redrafter, it'd be no different than a kicker, right? They're not going to win you the matchup every week, but it'd be an interesting stat. Same with the punter. You can learn a lot from punting, and I think, call me crazy on these positions, but hey, if you're going to do this league, you might as well try to mimic the NFL. The only thing missing here would be a head coach. You can do, the odds of a coach winning. There's a stat on that. You can do if they cover the spread for a coach. You can do their record. You can do all kinds of things for fantasy points, but I'll leave that one for you as an optional stat category for now. I think punter and an offensive line would be kind of fun, in my opinion, if you're going to go 32 owners. And again, it's going to be really hard to round up 32 guys, number one, and then go over all these positions and 15 starters. But, in the end, I just think there's nothing out there like this. So, you're gonna conjure up 480 players out of the talent pool just on starters alone. That's not even bench. You're gonna have a bench, and you're gonna have a taxi squad, and I'll get that to in a minute as I go through the slides here. Now, it would be an auction-style draft. Everybody would say, how the hell are you gonna do a fantasy football draft with 32 owners? Real simply, we would do an auction-style draft, and then rounds 1 through 6, okay? Once those are exhausted on the auction, and everybody would get, let's say, like $1,000 budget, okay? Once round 1 through 6 is over on the auction, it's just the highest bidder, man. However you want to spend your money, then we will go from there. But I would make an incentive to the guy that has the largest amount of their Fabby dollars remaining. If you do not spend all of your $1,000, you want to save your pennies, then you're going to be the first owner that goes as the 7th round comes around. You're going to be the first guy in the non-snake draft. What do I mean by that? So, you do your auction, okay? Everybody gets their first 6 players, and you have to pay for those guys, and it's all eBay. It's just random. Highest bidder gets, the player. But what's cool is if you want to save your money and be strategic, when the draft snakes back every other round, you're going to go twice. That's your incentive. So that could be some sort of strategy, because in round 7, what I could see is you go first overall, and then when it comes back 8 and 9, you're going to get 2 pretty valuable picks. You got to remember, 32 teams, guys. That's really, really thin by the time those rounds come around. So maybe that gives you some sort of strategy, maybe not. But that's the way I would do my draft order, and that's how I would run it with, again, an auction style. And then I would go into a non-serpentine draft, and I'd snake back every other round, so it's fair. So it would kind of look like this, right? You got all your guys left with the Fabby dollars, and this guy spent 900 of his budget, so he's going way, way down. So then his team's probably pretty good, right? Because he already auctioned off a bunch of guys. Maybe he overpaid, but the trick here is this guy, was smart about his money. He should be going earlier in the pecking order. That's just one way. You can skin a cat however you want on these ideas, but I just thought that would be one of the best ways to try this. Normal rules would apply so far. Unless you have any ideas for me, let me know. It'd be PPR. We'd integrate that. They'd have a taxi squad, because I'm a big rookie guy and want to stash talent. If you don't know what the taxi squad is, go Google my other videos on how it works. Essentially, it's a bullpen. For rookies only. You'd have a rookie-only draft after the core. And getting back to the Empire part of all this, how does that work, and why is Empire important? Because here's what we do. We would take a $175 entry, and we'd put half of the pot into a slush fund, an escrow account, something that no one can touch. It'd be a legit bank account that 3 people would manage, so you don't have any collusion there with the money, and no one's running off. And everyone would have check receipts and everything like this. It'd be all safe. Or you can go to LeafSafe.com. I use LeafSafe. I like those guys too. They're their own escrow people, and they'll hold your money too. There is a convenience fee for that if you want to do it your own way. You don't have to pay the convenience fee. But anyhow, so if half the pot goes into a slush, once you hit a back-to-back fantasy champion, then the league disbands and the guy gets whatever that slush pot is. How does that look? Well, year 1, you're going to just crown a champion no matter what, right? He gets the $2,400. You got 32 owners, okay? You got all those divisions we talked about, 8 owners, 4 divisions. But what happens is year 2, if this same guy does not win, okay, now the slush fund Empire pot grows to $4,800. Likewise, 72, 96, all the way, it goes to $12,000 year 5. I'd put, if this was my league, I'd only put a maximum of 5 years in the league here. I wouldn't want this to get out of control. I mean, my God, I don't even know how people are not going to fight over this sort of type of cash, which I'll put a disclaimer in this video. I'd be very cautious, because you got to be so careful with some of these figures, especially you get over $5,000 now. Aggression, temperament, personality changes. You get, neurotic type of people as it is, and then you got people that are just, this is their life to try to win this sort of money. I think it would be fun, but you have to be so careful about who you select. Now, there are 32 teams, so you'd be able to tell your significant other or somebody else, hey, there's 32 guys, we're all pooling our money here, but you just have to be so careful, because these dollars and zeros can get really big. That's why I put a 5-year max on it. Hell, it would be pretty amazing if you somehow, hit that jackpot there in year 5. But I don't know. It's just up to you. You have to see if it would go that far in this Empire type of league. So One other thing I would say is there's no trading. Collusion would be avoided there because, I know trading would be a lot of fun here, but you're talking that kind of money. There's just no way. I mean, how would you prove those trades are legit? And people are going to split the winnings and things like that. So I'd say there's no trading. And, I don't know. Give me your comments. Are you in? Would you be in for something like this? Let me know. I'm just curious on how people would think. All right, Johnny B, Upside Down Drafting. Give me a call, and I'll answer you on the email. Of course, upsidedowndrafting@gmail.com. Johnny B, talk to you later.